It's September 9th, 2018. This is episode 83 of Fancy Ramen. I'm Neil.
And I'm Scott.
Today we are going to be following up with the most exciting news in video games, and that is Scott's tennis tournament. So you won Wimbledon. You're now the new Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal.
Actually, no, I harassed a line judge after a bad call, and now I have a $17,000 penalty, I believe. And my name is Serena Williams, and tennis is unfair and terrible.
Were you penalized for taking off your shirt in the middle of the match and then putting it right inside out, or excuse me, front side forward?
Wait, front side forward? You mean so you take off the shirt? Let's say I have said shirt. I take this shirt off and then it's facing forward, but it's inside out.
No, I think it wasn't Serena, but it was another player that was penalized for taking her shirt off because she realized she had put it on backwards. So the back was on front. And
they dinged her because she showed what? Too much of the feminine form.
Yeah. I think the official response is that if you do it like while you're in the match,
it's disrespectful or something.
Yeah, you get dinged because it's a delay of game. But I think it's
bullshit.
Done by men more often, and it's maybe not. I don't know. I don't watch tennis. I think tennis is a boring sport to watch.
I'll watch tennis if it's on, and I love to watch it, but I never seek it out. Like, the only time I've actually watched tennis was the U.S. Open while I was at my tennis tournament because they had it on the television at the place they were hosting it. Yeah, if it's not already on and in front of me, I understand. It's not like I'm seeking that out as my primary form of entertainment.
As someone who enjoys ASMR, I think tennis is the exact opposite, like orally speaking, of what you're looking for. It's a bunch of grunts and like loud ball whacks.
I mean, there are probably some people who are into that ASMR. I don't know. If you didn't have the grunts, I'm sure like the ball sounds would actually be somewhat soothing. I don't really do or know much about the ASMR community, but I did at one point in time in college, like I'd set up to a German site called Blitzortung, and it essentially had like triangulation of every lightning strike on different like I guess, divisions of a global map. And so you could have like Southeast Asia, and if there was a big storm going on, you'd hear a click every time there was a lightning strike. And so like the arrhythmic pattern of those little lightning clicks as they're hitting in areas that are experiencing storms was nice.
Interesting. So the click wasn't representative of the sound of lightning at all. It was just like audible, like...
It was essentially like a click that coincided with the triangulation of where a strike had just happened. So it was essentially like an alert tick to make you look for the like epicenter circle that would happen at the same time.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. It was cool. But yeah, no, the tennis tournament went well. I played with my dad. That was the first time I ever played doubles. Like in any competitive sense that wasn't with my one and only doubles partner that I played all of high school with. And it went pretty well.
Shall they rest
for,
in peace?
I mean, I don't know what they're up to, but shout out to Curtis if you're listening. That kid was my lifeline on the court. He was the best doubles partner I've ever had. Like, one of those people that you can communicate with without having to say words, like that is a special, special thing in sports, I think.
So you're telling me that maybe your partnership with your father was not nearly as rewarding?
Not nearly as close as the guy I knew in high school. I mean,
Funny.
I was always vying for Curtis's love and attention, and I think that got me over my daddy issues. You know, I just shifted them onto someone else. No, we played well. We took fourth place in the tournament, though I think we really did we had a really good shot at taking, I don't think we were ever going to take the first place spot, but I think we had a shot at taking second place. And we just had some some unlucky events happen in our match that put us in competition for the 3rd and 4th place. And then my dad and I both got individually tilted when we played our final team. And I was trying to explain to him during the match, I was like, you're tilted. We need I had already been dealing with my shit the whole time. So it's not like it was his fault. I was already fucking up. But I was trying to explain to him what tilted meant. And he's like, I don't get it. And it's like, it's okay. It's your current state though. Like right now you're what we call in the industry tilted.
I'm sure it didn't necessarily help your state of tilt by having to explain what tilted meant.
Yeah, it was tough. We I don't know what happened. Our last match was pretty sad though. Like we played at a really high level for at least my skill set. Like my dad's much more talented at tennis than I am. But we played really well for the first 2, and then by the time we got to the 3rd and 4th matches, I was just like, yep, and all of the skill that I have cultivated and saved up is it's all depleted. I had to save one game with a final tiebreaker ace to like win it. And that was a really good feeling, and also I felt any ability that I had remaining depleted on that last shot. I used all my star power.
Is that like a reference to Mario Tennis or Mario Aces?
Yeah, Mario Aces just has like some sort of stamina bar or something. I played that multiplayer with my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, and Sierra and myself. And that game it's awesome. It's everything that I enjoyed about the multiplayer of Mario Tennis, but I've got a weird gripe. And I understand now, thinking about it a little more long-term, why they decided to move it from having one single screen to split screen. So each side of the court gets like a different split on a vertical split screen setup. And it's so if you play with any of the like stamina-based abilities, you can place your shots essentially. And the other team, like it doesn't take over their screen for you to place the shot, so they can move in an adaptive way. But it's really annoying. Like the view is actually really hard because it scrunches the screens together quite a bit. It feels really tight for a tennis court setup on the screen. And we were playing on on a very large television, and I was noticing this. So I don't know how it's possible with like a smaller TV screen.
When you're playing single player or competitively online, though, you
don't
have
the full
your
screen.
Okay.
Yeah. You have the full screen in that case. Because like when you're playing with 4 people, if one person on the team essentially sets up for a targeted shot, it takes over that whole screen. So your partner, like they now don't have any control or visual of their character anymore. They're essentially paused on what they can do until you take the shot. So I'm sure in competitive or like online play, if you have a buddy and you're playing against another doubles team, it's the same thing where it would just override the screen to the whole like target or like crosshair mode for landing a shot, and your partner is just paused essentially. Yeah,
like they actually can't move at all there. They can't
too.
Position.
What'd you say?
They can't position while you're in that target mode.
No, they cannot. The target mode freezes everybody, so the other team is frozen as well.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I think it's very similar to the way that I shouldn't say very similar, but it's going to be similar to the same way that like if you use a ultimate in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate coming out, because you can charge those up now and you can have multiple, only one person can activate an ultimate at a time. So there's no like conflict or priority between them. It's just like whoever first accesses the button to trigger that gets priority, and then you have to do it after that is completed in order to activate it.
Okay. Interesting.
In the realm of large TVs, also, big surprise for me is I won a contest at my dentist's office for referring the most number of patients over the summer. And I thought that you just got a free movie ticket if you referred somebody, and they did as well. But it seems also if you're the grand prize winner, there was a bigger prize available, and so I am currently waiting to receive a 55-inch 4K Ultra HD smart TV that I somehow won by just telling people how great my dentist is.
Interesting. Do you know what brand it is?
I'm pretty sure it's Samsung. I don't know for sure. I can look it up on my email. So I may have an answer in a second, but
you should check out what don't worry about it. I was just going to say you should check out what the input lag is, the input latency.
Oh, are you talking about maybe setting it up as like a screen for a PC or something?
No, just that like if you were to play on it, like I have the 42, 44 something inch, I don't know what it is now. Vizio maybe? If it says anything, like I don't use it anymore just because the input latency is so
it's
noticeable.
TCL. It is TCL 55-inch 4K Ultra HD Roku Smart LED TV.
TCL, I don't think I've heard of that before.
It's a free TV. Yeah, I know. TCL doesn't sound familiar to me either. Maybe I'm getting really...
It looks like it could be like
America's fastest growing TV brand. Chinese multinational electronics company. Headquartered in Huizhou, Guangdong province. Okay.
It's fucking crazy that a TV this big, 55 inches, I don't know if it's
enormous.
the same model, but it can be like $380. Like I can spend that much on a gaming monitor that's, a quarter of that size basically.
Yeah. That is wild. Well, anyway, I've been gifted a new TV that I would never normally
have
buy.
bought otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Hopefully it performs well.
Yeah, that's cool, I guess. I've got a TV that I need to sell on Craigslist now, so...
what else have you been up to? Video games?
Oh, yeah, definitely on video games. I was wondering if you had anything you've been up to before we get into that.
Work.
Before we dig in.
Until like November, my answer will be work.
So Cookie and I'll have to live it up for you.
I'm sure I'll still fit video games someplace in. I might sacrifice some sleep, but that'll be normal.
I've been I started and completed a game called Donut County that came out recently. It's a game that is essentially reverse Katamari in some ways. You start out as a hole, and as you swallow things, your hole gets bigger and bigger. And it says it's a physics puzzle game. It's relatively simple. Like, it's mostly just, I think, a game in which you enjoy being a hole and sucking things into it and enjoying the music and the like small narrative tied to the game, because none of the puzzles are particularly complex. Like I feel like it's very well suited or geared towards kids and the difficulty level of its puzzles. But it's a really cute and like fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a story about a raccoon essentially opening up holes whenever people try and order a donut from his donut stand, and then like sucking all of their stuff down into like an inner mantle of the earth through the hole until he fucks up like half of Donut County. And a little backstory for the game that I know about from reading some articles about it is that Ben Esposito, like the programmer and developer of the game, essentially wrote it as somewhat a narrative based on gentrification. Like the raccoons are coming in and essentially sucking up everybody's stuff with their holes and ruining the community and environment. So it's a great story to kind of, you like play as the villain for most of the story, which is fun. And it has pretty amusing like little dialogue sections between each puzzle, and a trashopedia where everything that you suck in, you later get to read like an analysis or description of it from the Raccoon's point of view, which is just like, it's a funny excuse for a lot of like really entertaining writing from, I assume, Ben Esposito. It doesn't look like anybody else, or I guess it's under his name. And so I think he is the only person behind it, which also for a singular project, like it looks really good. The physics are fun and work pretty well. Like it's a well-built game for one person, and I wonder how long it took him to make that. I now try and think about any game that I play that's a like one-person product, say Undertale from Toby Fox. Like what level of input comes in from these people before they ultimately have like a final product for their game? Because Undertale was like several years in the making, and something like this is a cute, like really accessible Steam or PS4 game, or it's even, I think, available for mobile, and there's already a mobile knockoff of it. But they're just fun games, and I wonder how long it takes people to build these in general.
You mentioned that you think it's kind of like a game suitable for children, but from what I've read, a lot of the writing would probably...
It would go over their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game, it's like if a kid just skipped through the dialogue, they would be fine and be able to enjoy like pretty much all the puzzles, figure it out bit by bit. But yeah, the storyline is definitely geared for like an audience that can read and like critically think. So, not for kids. Kids can't read or think critically. So that's my hot take on children.
I mean, it's funny when you mention that, because I think a lot of mobile games, I mean, there are maybe two different kinds of mobile games that more or less, two or three different kinds that more or less make up the entire mobile game market. The first one is the third would be gacha, like the gacha games and so forth, which can kind of influence or like can kind of be a part of other games. But like the first would be your collecting puzzle / strategy games, and then the second are essentially the fun, simple mechanical gameplay that relies on like being addictive enough to keep people playing, and also simple enough that an adult or child could play it no matter what type of exposure they have to video games in general. Like a few that come to mind would be like Crossing Roads, Flappy Bird. God, I actually just played a new one. I downloaded it like right before my last flight. And I think it's something like Kitten Crashers or Cat Crashers or something. And and actually, since I haven't talked about it, and I thought it was actually really amusing. At first, when I started playing it, I thought it might have been from the same makers as Crossy Road and Pac-Man 365. And actually, let me confirm by looking at my phone real quick to see what it is. But the game is Crashy Cats. Crashy Cats. So the point of Crashy Cats is that you play as a cat, which needs to go on. I mean, it's not even like you have to, but it's an endless runner in which your goal is to basically fuck up as much shit as possible. So you'll crash into things like furniture, vases or vases or whatever, chandeliers, decoration armor or suits of armor, candelabra. I'm just like basically anything that you could imagine a cat fucking up or breaking is what you you run through, and you have obstacles like dogs and well, specifically, I think it's like golden retrievers or some larger dogs that like don't actually eat you or anything if you run into them, but if you run into them, like your heads collide and you both get knocked out. And there are also pugs, I think, being suspended from balloons. But as you jump through the game, you will also find other cats, and the other cats will join you in your rampage, and they also serve as like a second life. So if you end up hitting like a boundary or something and knock yourself out, the second cat or the cat, any of the cats following you, become your avatar at that point, and you continue your rampage. But it like very, very simple game, but it just illustrates the point that I, as like a 30-year-old man, and am enjoying something mindless because it's like, because it's kind of funny for one thing, and like it's simple enough that I could just play a game of while I'm waiting in line, or I'm waiting, to get on my plane or anything like that. But I mean, to compare it to Donut Hole, like granted, Donut Hole is on, I think, Switch as well as PC and other platforms. But like,
I tried
similar.
to find Donut County on Switch, and I
Donut
didn't
County, yes, thank you.
have any luck finding it. That was the first place I looked for it, was on the Switch store, but I bought it I'm looking right here at the website. It's available on Steam, PS4, and GOG, as well as the Apple or the App Store. Yeah, so they don't have it on the Switch, because that was my first thought. It's like, this is a game that I think if it's got quite a bit of content, I can do a puzzle, at random while I'm out and about if I have my Switch on me. Because I tuck it into my backpack when I travel around.
It is apparently on iOS, though, so I guess you could do the same thing if you have an Apple iPhone or iPad.
Yeah, but sadly, not sadly, but I definitely do not have any Apple products anymore. I've purged my household of them.
Apple phones, man, are kind of fucking rough.
Way
off topic, but yeah.
No, let's just take a pot shot at Apple. I don't like Apple phones that much. I respect the quality of like the hardware that they use, and their software is definitely nice for some people, but their phones pissed me the hell off when I realized how many more available options and things I could do with a non-Apple phone. I'm not even going to say Android, but just something that doesn't run that iOS software.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily accurate to say this, but when I was going over like how the Apple phone did some simple things, like how it automatically archives photos to the cloud and some other things, the thought occurred to me that Apple hardware is getting to the point now where it's like, it's a good choice for people that don't want to go through and customize everything on their phones.
Yeah, no, it's getting hooked up to it's becoming cloudware, right? Like everything that you use your device for anymore has the assumption that you're going to have a lot of access to stream or digitally connect to all of this stuff that doesn't need to be stored on your device anymore. But I'm very much especially out in Montana, it's like I want to have a phone with massive storage space that I can download a bunch of files to, so I can plug in headphones when I'm in the middle of nowhere and listen to 2 days worth of downloaded music or something.
Yeah.
Or download an audiobook and have that available for when I'm painting a house in the middle of the summer,
Harry ate the puddings. The puddings were good.
No, we don't need to go into this. Have you played anything else?
Have I played anything?
Have you played anything
no,
at all?
I did talk about Crashy Cats.
Yeah.
Although I haven't played that since my flight back into Omaha. So aside from some old games or games we've talked about in the past, I tried out a demo for a game that's on Kickstarter, which is no longer on Kickstarter. It's past its period of time, and it reached its goal. But I'm specifically noting that it is over, so I don't have to feel bad about promoting a product that is currently on Kickstarter, because there are dangers and stuff involved. But it's called Garden Pause, and this game is kind of like I don't know if the comparison was made by the developers or by people that or like promoting the Kickstarter on Reddit, but it's a combination of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, but it seems way more chill than Stardew Valley, which like I think there's a time
Is
limit
Stardew
in
Valley
Stardew
not
Valley.
chill?
Yes and no. Like the Harvest Moon games are technically not always chill because, excuse me, because there's usually a time limit, like 3 years or however long. In A
Yeah.
Wonderful Life, for instance, your time limit is like your character's lifespan. So you go through different stages of, young adulthood, old adulthood, elderhood, or whatever. And Stardew Valley, I think, like I never finished a playthrough of Stardew Valley, and I mean, I think that maybe is worth discussing at another time if we ever get back into Stardew Valley because of the multiplayer. But I'm pretty sure there's like a 3-year limit or something similar to that as well. And it incentivizes you with these goals that you have to accomplish around the community center and like revitalizing that. And granted, that could definitely be a thing in Garden Paws as well. But the comparison made to Animal Crossing makes me wonder if that is necessarily an end goal in sight, because Animal Crossing, as I'm sure you've played, is like way less incentivized behind like accomplishing goals and more of just like fucking living
It's
your life.
getting into more and more debt. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I played Animal
it's
Crossing
getting
when
fucked
I
by
was-
Tom Nook is what it
Yeah.
is. The real mastermind of all evil in that game.
I think Animal Crossing was a real godsend to like millennials of our age, essentially teaching us like the devastating condition of debt right before we were about to get into it. Say 6 to 10 years later, playing it
But
on my
you still
GameCube
got
and being
yourself
like,
in debt.
owing people a lot of money is really bad.
Yeah, I mean, you still
No,
end up getting
I
yourself
don't.
in debt though from school though.
I'm
So-
not in any sort of debt from school.
Scholarships,
My degree was a full ride.
nice.
So I had to work my ass off to pay for all the other expenses, but as far as like the massive cost of tuition, that was all covered. So
Well,
I just had to make a lot of money to cover every other expense year to year. And I came out, instead of with $, just $0.
So I would say you're probably in the minority.
I know I am, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that for sure. But even then, it's like, then if you need a car, guess who's getting into debt just for a different reason?
Yep, exactly. It's that's like partly the reason why I'm still driving my shitty Jeep, is because I don't want to be in the red.
Yeah,
Like I like having surplus of money as opposed to owing money.
Yeah,
But-
and in a town that you live in with its public transportation being what it is, it's like, it's also not an option that's posed to you like, oh, you just want the luxury of a vehicle. It's like, well, you can't do most anything in the area that you live in without some form of like vehicular transportation.
Yep.
And if you live a busy enough lifestyle, you don't have the luxury of waiting for our terrible, terrible bus system in Omaha to get you around either.
But I digress. Garden Paws. You pick a character, which, like, all of the animals in this game kind of look like stuffed animals, so it's very cute. They also have Canada-themed outfits as well, which is very popular for me right now, of course.
Yeah.
In particular, like, the crops and stuff also seem very, from what little I've played, very casual feels like the right word, because it's not like your stereotypical turnips and shit. It's like dandelions and daisies and other flowers. And it really seems like there's no, again, this is like a really early build of it. I think they're planning on having it done by late 2019, maybe mid 2019. I don't recall exactly. But of course, this may not reflect what the final build or game is like at all. But it just seems like everything's really allowed to be taken at its own pace or your own pace.
Yeah.
You also have the option of like, or I guess it seems like the primary way to make money is to grow things and then sell them, or scavenge and other things and then sell them at your shop. And that does involve like sitting or standing at your shop and hitting a button whenever animals come and bring things to your register. So it's that part's kind of weird, how you have to actually hit the E button every time someone brings something to you. But
they bring in the mundane element of work for your entertainment.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was just like when I was finding myself kind of bored of that portion, I would just be tapping E relatively frequently as I was like reading something on my phone or talking with Tiffany or something. So it wasn't horrible, but I did decide to back it because I thought that as the fact too that it also has like home building or base building and it's multiplayer makes it kind of like, it gives it that same sort of feeling that I get from Raft, but with way less stress and less environmental hazards. So it's something that like, yeah, I'm not entirely hopeful it's going to be exactly what I want out of this type of casual game, but it's a casual game that has like a scope beyond that of many other things I've seen lately. So I guess I should just say that like I am supporting it for that reason.
Yeah, it looks like all the water, at least in the video I watched, is definitely too shallow for sharks. And so,
yes.
Yeah, you're in good hands. You at least won't suffer any shark attacks.
I tried to use a pickaxe to the head of a bunny, and it did not kill the bunny. So at that point, I immediately knew what type of game I was playing. So, but there are apparently enemies if you go spelunking, which is something I hadn't even done or tried. And still managed to get some time into the game. So, like, it has some things going for it. It's definitely the type of game I think I'd play with, like, a significant other, just to relax. Like, I'm honestly hoping it's the type of game that can sort of fill my, like, the void that Minecraft has left. Because, like, quite frankly, it's hard for me to play Minecraft anymore just because I know too much about everything in that game, and all of the patches that I've tried to play on Minecraft that further expand it in a way that I'm not necessarily like looking for.
What do you mean? Like, can you give some examples? Because my background on Minecraft is minutely small.
Okay, so let's say so Minecraft has like a few end game things. Like you can go into the is it the Ender Zone? I'm not going to know any of the names anymore, but the Endermen, if you get enough of their pearls, you can basically make an Ender Gate and then end up going and fighting the Ender Dragon. That's like the end game, if you want to call it that, in Minecraft. Or you can go into like essentially hell. I don't remember what that's called. If you find the right gates made from obsidian. And you could also use that as like a fast travel type of thing too, I guess you could say, because it's like two different dimensions or worlds. And if you have a gate at one space and a gate at another space in one world, it might cover different distances between the regular green grassy world and hell, or whatever it's called. And so like Minecraft itself has like a decent amount of content at it, but most of the expansions, like the user patches, are not so much interesting mechanics that are added onto it, but more menu options or like updated user interfaces to allow you to build more things or to create more advanced formulas. And it's like, I'm not really interested in making a sword out of a 3x3 grid anyways. Like that's not what made Minecraft interesting to begin with. It was more just the exploration of the game, exploring the mechanics itself. And I don't necessarily think that there are that many or any of the player-made patches I've tried out necessarily expand upon the game's mechanics in a way that makes me want to explore the game further.
Right.
And
it's hard to sometimes get an incentive to build more stuff when the only like differentiating factor is like it's better stuff now though. Like
it's like your sword. It's weird because
isn't that the Elder Scrolls system? It's like, yeah, but now instead of making iron daggers, you can make silver daggers. And it's like, oh, so I can do the same like ratio of damage to this higher level monster that's spawning that my iron dagger did earlier. Like same experience, different skin on everything.
And that's what makes it weird for me because like I also identify that as like a core problem in Skyrim, like the Oblivion Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like Phantasy Star Online was essentially the same thing, and yet I enjoyed that game so much more than I think any other game with
Any
that
other
formula.
person. Oh.
Um, so okay. So let's say that on the flip side, when I started playing Terraria and Starbound for that matter, which I believe is the same team, like both of those games also had like a similar lifespan for me where when I look at Terraria and Starbound, which I believe were made by the same developers, I think I had like a similar lifespan for those games, which was like I didn't play the game necessarily to get the best equipment or materials. I played the game to like experience what it had to offer content wise.
Yeah, explore these weirdly like randomly designed or right? It is a somewhat like procedurally generated, randomly generated world.
Yeah, for those
Um,
two games.
yeah, and that's what I really enjoyed about Terraria. Exactly is getting some new items for mobility. Like you can build like a grappling hook later in the game. I think it's really really cool. But the most interesting part about those games was walking across your like field and forest area to find a blighted area or a like desert tomb and a pyramid to explore the catacombs within, or like the frozen caves that they added later. It was the exploration that I think was the most satisfying element for me, and it sounds like for you.
And so now that I think about it, like I'm interested in Garden Paws for like obviously not any of those reasons because this game I don't think really has much exploration going on for it. Like you have a known map and it's not like large enough that you couldn't cross it in like 15 minutes maybe tops.
Yeah,
Again, subject to change as any demo and alpha build can be.
that's
But
true.
I think I'm more interested in it for the factor like the I guess the home building or the base building aspect of it and what possibilities could lie other than that and what the spelunking options could possibly have too. But yeah, aside from that, I don't think I've played anything else of note. I think my only big take is that I actually have started to really like the combat system in Final Fantasy 15,
Mm-hmm.
which I probably would not have ever admitted to when I was playing the game the first time. I will say, once you finish Octopath Traveler, I think we'll have some things to talk about because that game has become more and more interesting to me from a design standpoint. I can't say anything else without knowing you've finished the game, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have said it from the start that I didn't have super high expectations for Octopath Traveler, but I was still excited about it nonetheless. And then I think on the following episodes, I said, wow, the one thing that this game really gets me on is like allowing me to revisit the combat of my favorite turn-based like RPGs and JRPGs from my childhood, but with a certain amount of like freshness and like new mechanical inner workings that made it really appealing in a long-term approach for the game. Like at this point in time, after I've played so many, like after I've been saturated by more boring turn-based play styles, and every time it gets brought up, I think about the last boss fight that I had in that game and what like exciting or weird mechanic it utilized. Like I really really love the variety of these boss fights. And they all seemed like there's plenty of things that are popping up in, say, one person's story in chapter 2 or chapter 3 that is relevant to another like approach or mechanical I guess I'm trying to think like a mechanical puzzle that's presented in someone else's storyline in the same chapter in a slightly different way. Like the alternating weaknesses for some characters, like they'll shift their stance or an event will happen in battle that changes their weaknesses. And I just finished fighting a guy who uses 2 spears who would change his stance like every turn. And I just happened to be lucky enough to have a crew that could hit almost every weakness he had at any point in time. And I was lucky enough to have a scholar that could analyze every weakness like that. And I was like, man, I can't imagine fighting this fight and having him change every time for me to be unable to like guess what his actual weakness is, and just how would I whittle away his health without doing that? So I'm super excited to finish that game. I have not lost my steam on it. I was out of town this weekend for a work event, so I didn't get to finish it up. And I'm afraid that the fact that Spider-Man's getting a lot of really good reviews means I might get a PS4 game sometime later this afternoon to try out. I will get through it, and then we will absolutely have to talk about it on the show.
And speaking of Spider-Man, I was thinking about picking it up and using it as like something I would stream on like the spare nights or the nights where I'm not working till 12 in the coming weeks. Just as something I know the game's not necessarily casual in nature. I think it has some RPG elements, but something that's like pretty lighthearted to play, because I've only heard good things about it. And as much as we can talk about Sony being like a shitty company lately, it seems like their first party content is or their exclusives are pretty fucking solid at this point.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely true. They already started crushing it with God of War at the beginning of this year, and they're going strong into the fall with this Spider-Man release, it seems.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely 100% a biased party from enjoying my teen rating GTA that was Spider-Man 2 for the like GameCube, PlayStation 2 era. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll probably pick it up. And I have a pretty good feeling that Cookie will probably have that in his library. He's the most, he's the quickest to acquire the like next shiny thing in gaming out of all of us, I think.
I mean, it helps when you're part of the 1%, like Cookie.
Yeah, I know, man. There are a lot of things I wish I could. There are a lot of people I wish I could be like, but man, if a Cookie is not number 1 of that list, I don't know who it is. That's it, I think.
Any outstanding news topics or anything you want to go over?
I haven't caught up on any Smash news, so if there's anything for Smash news, maybe I'll bring it up next time. Have you ever played a Dragon Quest game? Are they any good? I'm also interested in Dragon Quest 11, which is just released on Steam.
Which got like a perfect score from GameSpot, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, for real?
Which is surprising. Also, it was either GameSpot. Now I have to double check, because as soon as I said that, I realized that it was RP Gamer that gave it a perfect score. So now I'm starting to second guess myself on GameSpot. But let's pull that up and look at those reviews. It's a 9 out of 10 there. Yeah, I've heard a lot of overwhelmingly positive reviews about this game, and like I tried playing Dragon Quest, I think it was 8 or 7, and I felt like it was pretty boring. So I'm not sure. Like I'm just not sure like what if I am actually the demographic that this game is aimed at.
I mean, aren't you? Didn't you just say that Phantasy Star Online was a big favorite of yours? It's very much the like JRPG style.
But I mean, I think people would agree that Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, like even if we look at the classic eras of both games, like so up to Final Fantasy 8 or 9, arguably 10, and compare those to the old Dragon Quest games, I think most people would agree that they're like extremely different.
Yeah.
I'm also okay. So I've also never been a huge fan of Toriyama's artwork either. So
Oh yeah, and it is very it's dripping with that Toriyama style. It is
yeah,
the 3D Chrono Trigger like continuation of art.
but then Dragon Quest also doesn't have any of the Chrono Trigger feel to it either, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Aside from the artwork, of course, and Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger in particular. Well, Chrono Trigger obviously doesn't carry any of the Toriyama artwork aside from the character portraits, so it's so easy to forget that. And like you don't even see the portraits when people are talking in that game, so it's really easy to forget that Toriyama is actually the character designer in that game. And none of the in-game monster art, none of it looks at all like it's Toriyama influenced, with the exception of like the interior Lavos form. Kind of looks like it could be a combination of Cell and Frieza sort of put together.
That's true.
And then I guess like the robot in the opening area, Gato. Like there are, okay, so let me correct myself. There are some characters and monsters or enemies that are Toriyama, like draw from the Toriyama artwork really well. Like the Epoch also takes that design pretty much as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's easy to forget. And Chrono Cross obviously was not using Toriyama as their lead designer or anything. Like the character art in that game, that's another topic because it's not necessarily like my favorite design either. But Dragon Quest, on the other hand, especially because like the newer games are the ones that we've been exposed to in the West, unless we were looking at fan translations, like it is bleeding Dragon Ball all over the place.
And the main character even has the really shitty Trunks like midway part, which is the dumbest haircut ever. And it may have convinced me not to buy this game.
Like Dragon Quest 8.
I can't cheer for a guy with that stupid haircut.
And it's not even like when it's the poofy Trunks hair, it's the long,
no, it's very flat,
like thin.
And thin.
Yeah. So when you look at Dragon Quest 8, which is like the last Dragon Quest game I really couldn't envision being released. It was a PlayStation 2 game.
Is that the guy with the bandana?
Yep. Like you look at that and you're at least like, okay, there's way less Dragon Ball going on in terms of the hairstyles. Even though one of the tank you get in that game looks like he's a fucking thug from Dragon Ball Z. And then I can't think of the guy's name, but with white hair. He definitely has like the future Trunks haircut, but after it gets cut.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But regardless, like what threw me off of early Dragon Quest was entirely different. But I think it still goes to show that, like, I think that type of JRPG is way more traditional in ways that I don't think Final Fantasy was ever that well known for.
Mm-hmm.
Except until like even Final Fantasy IV had like a crazy turn in the plot, being that in like game mechanics, being that you have a Dark Knight that, spoilers for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy IV, but a Dark Knight that his entire kit and mechanic ends up getting completely reversed when you make him into a paladin. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily, and like if anyone would ever consider that to be big or like surprising now, but I remember playing Final Fantasy or 2 as it was known when I was a kid, and hitting that point in the story and just being fucking shocked that I was fighting my old self in a mirror. Like, these things were fucking mind-blowing for like a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's true. And it's also that's before we started hitting the like implementation of job and class systems, right?
Well, so Final Fantasy 2, actual 2 as opposed to 4, had a job system in place, or maybe it was 3. I think it was 3, but not 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 3, because Final Fantasy 3 or 6 or whatever is the one that came on That came on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, right? Is what
Yep,
we're talking about.
And 6, like, all of the Final Fantasies, with the exception of 1 and 2, but even then, like, I'm sure someone could argue otherwise, had some sort of like revolutionary way of changing the game and of like what JRPGs were.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even comparing Final Fantasy 1 and Dragon Quest, the original, like, granted, I'm sure that there was a couple years of of a gap in release dates. Like Dragon Quest 1, you played as one dude. And in Final Fantasy, you got to pick your party. So you could do 4 fighters, or you could, do a fighter, thief, black mage, white mage, or red mage, black mage, white mage, and a fighter. Like, it was up to you. It was like really, really cool how you could actually plan out your parties like that. It also,
thief.
Yeah.
The ultimate glass cannon.
It's, I don't know. I'm going on a tangent here that I'm sure is very, very rose-colored in hindsight for myself. But if you have comments, questions, you can write into podcast@fancyramen.com.
Don't forget to leave us a like and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts at. And please tell a friend about our podcast. We get our most listeners by word of mouth, and we'd like to keep building that fan base.
And if you're not watching us on YouTube, we do have videos for our podcasts as well as Let's Plays.
Yeah, you can see my ugly, ugly couch in the background.
Or my desolate basement.
YouTube. Yeah, it doesn't look desolate with all the clutter off to your... Well, I don't know which is your... I think it's your left-hand side.
This side.
Is that a half-drank water bottle, Neil?
Yes.
Is that litter?
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can. I have good eyes.
Dang.
Yeah. I won't note what else I can see.
Oh.
But yeah, I normally have my hideous couch behind me, and then that's about it. That's about all I allow into the view. I think my body blocks the rest of the clutter that is my apartment.
A bass guitar.
That's the idea. Yeah, you can see my bass guitar. You can't see my other guitars, which is also probably good because now I'm rambling. It doesn't matter. All right.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.